Hey everybody, Carl here. Forgive the messed up hair. Um, so today, uh, I get to say I told you so. I took my phone up to the county. County called a city cop because I live in the city, and he said, "Your phone's not hacked. Phones just do that." So I'd like to introduce you to the hacked phone. If you can read that, uh, your phone's been hacked. um, it also tells me about a lot of malware, spyware. It tells me it's been tapped, everything else. And I also get these weird notifications. Um, so a little I told you so moment, not a big deal. Obviously, we don't have enough proof uh, to investigate. So, little I told you so moment, and then earlier on Facebook, we I thought that was a policeman. They actually drove by again yesterday. But just a little I told you so moment, and then we're going to talk about a post I posted to Facebook last night. A movie about a patent theft on television, shit like that. So here's a little more about it. Before we go putting Carl in the mental institution again. This was January 20th, or not January 20th, January 6th of 2020. Rough draft, and it even says drone body from rough draft. Right? Right. And we got the piston driven pumps and hydraulic motors that are liquid cooled and control valves for the hydraulic system and just rough draft stuff. The turntables for the hydraulic motors. And then if you go all the way here to the end, we have Carl Philip White claims his main intellectual property to the best of my knowledge on dates described in page 1, patent pending. To the best of my knowledge, to date on dates described on page 1, patent pending. And this was notarized January 9th, 2020 by a Caitlin Kieran at the bank. Official public notary seal, State of Missouri, Camden County. Commission expires July 11th, 2022. So, patent pending, a little thing about that. The definition, the legal definition of patent pending, from what my research has been online, has changed. I don't know, 2 or 3 times in the last couple months. Originally, when I looked it up, patent pending was referring to the patent application process, which I had already had the patent office send me a patent application, which I was going to start filling out myself and then hand it over to an attorney when I got to that point and let them file it. So, after some argument about whether or not it would work, I started doing some playing with the gear reduction and gear amplification. I drew that in the psych ward after claiming that my phone was hacked. Never fear, I'm not crazy. That's just what they do with us poor people that they cannot control. So we've got hydraulic pump drawings, gear amplification drawings, That might actually be what I drew in the sideboard. You know, gear reduction boxes from the engine to the pump, things like that. I've actually been looking online at gear reduction boxes, smaller gear reduction boxes, that go 50 times gear reduction. Block that. Let's see here. Go to eBay. eBay.com. So they do actually, and I was actually right about my math too, in which it's easier to find a 50-to-1 gear reduction box than it is a 60-to-1. I don't know why. I think with the small machine that I'm wanting to build, a 50-to-1 gear box will do just fine, because the props aren't as big. It's not going to require as much to spin them. Let's see, gear reducer 50-to-1, and they do make gear reduction boxes. The best one I've found so far is in like page 3, because a lot of these are affordable, but they cannot handle the RPM or the torque because they are gearworm drives. Some of these are cone gear drives, which is looking like what I'm going to need, because the one that I'm currently looking at is rated for 1200 inch-pounds of torque, or pound-inch. Not 100, 1200. So I was going to put a little lawnmower motor on it or something like that, and build a little piston-driven pump, and put oil in the interstitial space between the pistons. You know, get like a little, get like a small V8, just to see if we can do something with that and make a small version of it, and use oil in the interstitial space to do two things. One, the oil is going to help displace the pistons and not put as much pressure on the rods. And two, it's going to keep air from getting into the hydraulic fluid. So this little version that I'm going to try to make is probably going to have to be an 8-cylinder hydraulic pump. I've been thinking about that. The 4-cylinder hydraulic pump is going to be putting a lot of pressure on the piston rod, and we could put oil in the interstitial space between one set of pistons and the other, and it could actually help displace those pistons without putting so much pressure on the rods. So basically I'm going to make a little bit of something on a small scale version. I found pretty affordable gear amplifiers, which I'll need 4 of them to go on 4 separate hydraulic motors, and bolt to it to do the gear amplification on the props, which is strangely the way cars work, because you have the engine, gear reduction in the transmission, and gear amplification on the rear axle. And somehow, you know, 240 foot-pounds of torque pushes a 3,500 pound vehicle down the highway. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now, and that's what the post to Facebook was about last night. No straitjackets, no no straitjackets. So as long as this stuff is public, which my life is pretty much kind of public already, there is no privacy. You know, malware, spyware. So as long as this stuff is public, I don't worry about going to the nut warden. That's why I make this public, because you can't, like I said before, you can't rely on law enforcement to help you with these problems. It's something you got to do yourself.